world stirs before you do. You lie in bed beneath a quilt that's slightly scratchy, but familiar, something stitched by hands you know. The mattress creaks when you move, and somewhere outside your window, a milk truck rattles past with a clink of glass bottles. It's 1925, and the day begins not with a scream of alarm clocks, but with the slow, steady exhale of a city stretching its limbs. Your room is dim, but golden slivers sneak in through the lace curtains, painting thin stripes on the wooden floor. The air smells like yesterday's coal smoke and fresh bread cooling down the hall. You hear a soft hiss from the radiator, comforting reminder that it's still doing its job most of the time. Outside, someone is already whistling, the tune cheerfully off keys, unmistakably, "Ain't She Sweet?" It drifts upward, soft as cotton, mixing with the faint buzz of a distant streetcar bell. Somewhere beneath that, a radio sputters to life in the next apartment, the announcer's voice all grain and bravado. And next, a little something from the Paul Whiteman Orchestra. You stretch. Your joints pop like knuckles cracking vinyl records. It's a gentle ache, like the kind you get after dancing too much, even if you never quite learned the steps. You breathe in slowly. Today is wide open, and yes, historians argue whether most Americans actually liked jazz this early on. Many rural folks still swore by their church choirs. But for you, right now, it feels like the city is wrapped in syncopated rhythm. It's not history yet. It's just now. You pull the quilt back, feel the cool air on your ankles, and smile. Somewhere in this very normal, very jazz-soaked day, something good is going to happen. The floor groans gently under your feet as you stand, and the hum of the 1920s welcomes you softly, like a tune waiting for its first verse. You breathe slower now, the world still half dreaming. Your toes brush against the wooden floor, cool, a little rough, and wonderfully real. You step down slowly, still wrapped in the heaviness of sleep, your limbs moving like molasses poured from a tin. The rug at your bedside is thin but loyal, frayed at the corners. Its faded reds and blues, telling silent stories of socks shuffled across it 100 mornings before. You wiggle your feet inside your cotton stockings, feeling the soft give of fabric warmed by your own sleep heat. Somewhere outside, a Model T sputters to life, sounding vaguely like a mechanical hiccup. It's not in a rush. Neither are you. Your window glass is slightly warped, just enough to make the brick buildings across the street shimmer like a mirage. On the sill, a layer of city dust glitters faintly in the morning light, kissed by a thin line of condensation. You draw your finger through it, absent-mindedly, sketching a little heart. Then, because you're feeling cheeky, you add a monocle and a mustache. Welcome to the 1920s. Your feet carry you to the small dresser by habit. The wood creaks when you open the drawerage, hinge performing its usual protest. Inside, your usual outfit. A sensible blouse, a sturdy pair of trousers if you're feeling bold today, or a calf-length skirt if you're aiming to blend. Either way, nothing too flashy. Unless, of course, you add the scarf with the tiny embroidered pineapples. That one always raises eyebrows, in the best way. You slip on your slippers, soft leather, worn perfectly to your shape, and glance toward the door. It's closed, but you can already smell the neighbor's morning bacon and yesterday's coffee, reheated to bravery. Most folks today think the 20s were all champagne fountains and Charleston hips. But most people, they were like you. Ordinary mornings, quiet routines, the occasional pineapple-patterned rebellion. You take a breath. The floor beneath you is steady, and the world hums gently outside. The curtain sways slightly in the breeze as you move toward the door. The day waits, soft, glowing, slow. The candle flickers low. The kitchen is still dim, still stretching its arms awake. You shuffle in slowly, your slippers whispering against the tile. The air carries a soft chill, not enough to shiver, just enough to feel like the refrigerator's winning the early morning battle. But this isn't your modern humming box of freon and fake lights. No, this is your tall, proud, wood-paneled icebox. And it's doing its best. You unlatch the metal handle, and it squeaks a dignified little groan, like it resents being disturbed so early. Inside, a block of ice glistens like a fading glacier, wrapped in a towel that's surrendered to the damp. You reach past it, fingers brushing the cool metal shelf as you inspect the contents. A half stick of butter, a glass bottle of milk, a wedge of cheese you think is still cheese, and a bowl of sliced grapefruit, drying just slightly at the edges. You take the grapefruit anyway. It's tart, oddly fragrant, and somehow exotic. It's all the rage lately, people say. It stimulates the nerves, whatever that means. You don't feel particularly stimulated, just awake. Mostly, you settle into your chair, with the cracked cushion, the one that sighs when you sit. There's a bit of bread left from yesterday, which you toast on the stovetop, using a bent wire contraption that looks like it. Might start a fire if you so much as look at it wrong, but it doesn't. It never does. Miraculously, outside the window. Someone calls for their dog in a voice that implies both fondness and deep regret. A streetcar dings in the distance. The city is stretching its legs now, same as you. You pour the milk into your chipped porcelain cup. It's colder than expected, fresh from the icebox's questionable magic. You sip slowly. Somewhere, a historian will argue whether most folks actually had iceboxes by now. Some say yes, some say not yet. But here, yours hums with quiet pride, sweating gently in the corner. A pigeon lands on the fire escape with the air of someone late for a meeting. You both eat in silence. You chew, you breathe, and for now, that's enough. The spoon clinks softly in the bowl as you take your last bite, and the morning deepens like a lullaby. The plate is empty now, save for a curl of grapefruit rind and a few crumbs that cling stubbornly to the porcelain. You let your hand rest on the table, fingers tapping idly. That's when you hear it, just a whisper, at first floating in from the apartment next door. The radio. Not just static this time, but the brave crackle of a marching tune. You close your eyes for a moment and lean slightly toward the sound, as if you could physically drift into it. The trumpets are tinny, yes, and the percussion arrives about a second too late, but it's there. The spirit, the rhythm, the feeling that something is happening. You follow the melody into the parlor, where your own radio, a square, walnut cabinet with polished knob, sits waiting on its pedestal, like a small, humming deity. You switch it on. It sputters. It stutters. And then, music. A parade of notes bursts through, some triumphant, some completely undecided about what key they belong in. But it's alive, and it fills the room like sunlight in a bottle. You sit on the edge of the sofa, hands folded, eyes soft. The announcer cuts in, and next up from our friends in New York, Hot Lips by Henry Buss and his orchestra. The band begins, full of joyous brass and cymbals that seem to fall downstairs, and you feel your foot start tapping just a little. You'll never mean to. It just happens. You think about how this used to be science fiction. A voice, a song, a band traveling invisibly through the air, landing in your living room like magic, or witchcraft, depending on your grandmother's mood. Historians still debate whether radios helped unify the country or just made gossip louder. But right now, for you, it feels like a gentle thread connecting your quiet morning to something bigger, something bolder. You hum along, off-key, but content. The sofa cushion dips beneath you like a soft exhale. Outside, the parade plays on. But here, in this little room, the music slows, and you feel your heartbeat match its rhythm. The radio buzz softens, the brass fades, and the quiet creeps in, like a cozy friend. The music fades, leaving the soft tick of your clock and the hush of morning footsteps outside your window. You slip into your coat, the familiar weight of it settling across your shoulders, and step into the hallway. The floorboards creak in places they shouldn't, but they always have. You descend the stairs slowly, trailing your fingers along the polished banister. It's warm from the sun already peeking through the front door's frosted glass. Outside, the city greets you with a gentle breeze and the distinct smell of coal smoke mixed with freshly baked rolls. Somewhere close, someone's burning bacon. Bold choice. Your shoes scuff against the sidewalk as you stroll toward the corner newsstand, the one wedged between the drugstore and the shop that hasn't sold anything useful since 1917. The newsboy is already barking headlines, his cap tilted too far back, his voice high and fearless. Flappers scandalize at the Ritz. Yankees sweep again. Lindbergh says he could cross the Atlantic someday. You smile, stepping up to the rack. The newspapers are still warm from the press. You pick one with a dramatic photo of a woman in a short dress, cigarette dangling from her lip like it's part of her face. The headline screams something about the fall of morality, which, judging by her expression, she couldn't care less about. Next to you, the news vendor, a man with exactly one eyebrow and the voice of a seasoned cynic, mutters, "Geno, they said the world end in 1919. Guess they were off by a few years." He hands you a stick of gum without asking. You thank him anyway. As you leaf through the pages, the news is a curious cocktail of war aftermath, scandal, fashion tips, prohibition raids, and cartoons where dogs talk like bankers. There's something oddly comforting about it, all the way the world seems to be falling apart and dancing at the same time. You fold the paper under your arm, nod to the vendor, and turn back toward the street. Behind you, the newsboy shouts something about a new film star with eyes like danger. You breathe it in the ink, the city, the quiet chaos, and keep walking. The sidewalk warms beneath your steps, and your thoughts drift gently forward. The bell above the barbershop door jingles as you push it open, the chimes slicing gently through the scent of shaving cream, talcum powder, and a hint of eucalyptus. Inside, everything is soft edges and muffled talk, no sharp corners here, except the razors. The barber looks up, his suspenders sagging a bit, a towel slung over one shoulder like he's been in mid-conversation since 1912. "You just missed the preacher," he says, grinning. "He's convinced jazz is gonna turn us all into sinners with weak ankles." You nod solemnly, as though your ankles haven't already rebelled. You settle into the big leather chair near the front window, which is smudged with handprints and faint soap residue from last week's cleaning spree. The chair sighs as you lean back. It knows its job. Beside you, two men debate loudly, but affectionately, whether prohibition has made people drink more or just made the alcohol taste worse. One swears he drank real whiskey last week. The other insists it was probably wood polish in a fancy bottle. The barber tilts your chin up gently and begins to lather your jaw with a warm brush that smells faintly of mint and something called gentleman's spice, which sounds vaguely fictional as he shaves. He rambles about Rudolph Valentino's new picture, says it's got women fainting in the aisles. "It's the eyes," he says, too intense, like he knows your secrets and your recipe for chicken soup. You raise an eyebrow but wisely say nothing. In the background, a tinny Victrola plays a slow instrumental piece. The record skips every fourth note, like it's dancing with a limp. Historians might say the barbershop was the social media of the 1920s, except here, the comments are louder and come with the occasional splash of tonic, a final swipe of the blade, a dab of aftershave that burns just enough to make you blink, and you're done. Smooth, fresh, slightly dazed. You step back into the sunlight, the doorbell jangling behind you, the scent of mint still trailing in your wake. The city exhales, and so do you. Slower now, steadier. The sidewalk is warm beneath your feet now, warmed by the morning sun and the hustle of city shoes. You pass a group of schoolchildren skipping rope, their chants ringing out in neat little rhythms, half nursery rhyme, half jazz. One girl stumbles on a rhyme about bathtub gin. She's 6. You try not to laugh. You stop in front of Woolworth's. The big glass window catches you in its reflection, part of the street, part of yourself, part of something that's trying to look modern but still smells like floor polish and penny candy. Inside, shelves stacked with goods wink in the sunlight. There's a bowl of red lipstick cherry, flame-stacked, like rubies in their little gold tubes. Next to them, a pyramid of peanuts in wax paper bags, their oils leaving faint marks like ghosts on the counter. You don't need anything, not really, but the display beckons like a magician's table. Hairpins, lace gloves, tins of ointment that promise to cure everything from wrinkles to heartbreak. A miniature fan rotates in lazy circles behind a stack of sewing needles, and you find yourself hypnotized by its slow, worry rhythm. A young woman inside is buying a perfume labeled Evening, whispers. She tests it, wrinkles her nose, then buys 2 bottles. Behind the counter, the clerk is reading a magazine with one eye and folding a paper bag with the other. He seems mildly surprised by the presence of customers. A sign in the window reads, "Tin lunch pails, 9 cents, while supplies last." You wonder if you'd feel more responsible owning a tin lunch pail. Probably not. You press your forehead gently to the glass, just for the cool of it. A woman nearby does the same. You share a look. It's not awkward. The past isn't golden. Here it's ordinary, strange, and a little bit dusty. But somehow, it glows. You step back, blink slowly, and keep walking. A breeze picks up as you round the corner, soft as the inside of a coat pocket. The hat shop is barely bigger than a broom closet, but it's packed to the rafters with style. You duck inside on impulse, bells tinkling overhead like wind chimes that haven't made up their mind. The air smells of felt, starch, and the faintest whisper of pipe smoke, like someone's distinguished uncle, haunts the place politely. Rows of hats rest on wooden pegs, lining the walls like silent judges. Fedoras, cloches, boaters, and even one terrifying velvet turban that looks like it's waiting for a seance. A mirror leans in the corner, warped just enough to make everyone look like they've had one too many cream sodas. You love it instantly. "Try the straw one," comes a voice from behind the counter. You hadn't even seen the clerk, a tall woman with red lipstick, so precise it could draw maps. She's wearing gloves indoors, which means she's either very fancy or very cold. You respect both. You lift a straw boater off the hook, admiring the ribbon trim. It's light, airy, and makes you feel like you belong on a picnic blanket with champagne and questionable sandwiches. You set it on your head and look in the mirror, crooked, but charmingly so. You look like you're about to star in a film, she says, dabbing her lip with a tissue and not looking up from her magazine. "I'm thinking tragic lead," you reply, tilting the brim. "Oh, absolutely. Doomed love, Paris, possibly a horse accident." You grin. The shop feels suspended in time, like outside. Cars honk and papers flutter, but in here, only hats matter. Historians rarely agree on fashion's deeper meanings in the 1920s, whether flapper style was rebellion or just really good marketing. But standing here, you know one thing for sure. A good hat can make you feel like someone new. You don't buy it. Not today, but you leave with your head just a little higher. The door clicks closed behind you, and the city welcomes you back with a quiet rustle. The afternoon sun glints off glass storefronts as you wander, and the city hums with the kind of energy that feels both aimless and deeply alive. You pass a bakery that smells too good to ignore, a florist arranging peonies with surgical focus, and then just ahead a door, unmarked, brick frame, slightly ajar. You pause. There's nothing remarkable about it, really. A simple wooden door, paint flaking, a faint scuff mark at the base, where it's been nudged one too many times. But from behind it, a murmur, low voices, and then, unmistakably, the plunk 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 of a piano playing something slow and sticky. You pretend not to notice. You keep walking, just far enough that no one suspects curiosity. Then you stop and turn, adjusting your scarf like you dropped something. You glance again. A woman in a feathered hat steps out, laughing behind her hand, a small bottle clutched tightly in her purse. She winks at you, then disappears into the sunlight like nothing happened. Speakeasies is hidden little rebellions tucked inside drugstores, basements, back rooms of bakeries. Prohibition said no, but jazz said try me. The law was clear. The people, less so. You drift closer. The door shuts with a soft click, muffling the piano mid-dash note. No sign, no menu. Just the faint scent of juniper and citrus gin. Probably homemade, probably illegal, probably awful. And still, the most popular liquid in town. You rest your hand briefly on the warm brick. You're not going in. Not today. But it's nice to know it's there, this little secret heartbeat in the wall, thumping to a rhythm just a bit too fast for polite society. You smile and turn away. Shoes tapping gently on the pavement. Behind you, the music starts up again, muffled and mischievous, like it knows it's not supposed to exist. The sidewalk is soft beneath your steps now, like it's listening. You haven't walked half a block before someone calls out. You hear the new Armstrong record. You glance. To your right. He's leaning against a lamppost like it's the most natural seat in the world. Sleeves rolled, straw hat tipped back, a cigarette burning forgotten between his fingers. His grin is big. His eyes are bigger. Louis, he says, tapping the air. Changed everything. Horn like honey. Voice like sandpaper. You nod, caught between amusement and genuine curiosity. You've heard the name. Armstrong's been making waves out of Chicago. People say he plays like he invented music on the spot. Others say he ruined it entirely. The truth, as usual, lives somewhere in the cigarette smoke. The man chuckles. Back in my damning, 3 years ago we played nice, easy, straight-up tempo. Now, everyone's in a hurry to bend the beat and toss in a trumpet solo between bites of lunch. You smile. He isn't really complaining. He's delighted. His voice lifts with every word, as if talking about music actually turns the air into melody. He claps a syncopated rhythm on the lamppost. Clink, clap, pause, clink. He does this thing, slides into notes like he's skating downhill. Makes you feel like falling in love or robbing a train. Someone behind you mutters, "That boy can't read a note of sheet music." The man just laughs. Neither could the birds, but they still sing. You stand there for a moment, nodding, letting the rhythms soak in, letting your breath fall into time with his little tapping beat. The city moves around, you horses clip by, heels tap in quick duets, and a saxophone wails 3 blocks over, like it got lost and liked it. Historians will argue if jazz unified America, or just played it louder, but right now it feels like a conversation with no wrong answers. You tip your head in thanks, and he nods once, like you passed an invisible test. You walk on steps lighter, like there's music inside your shoes. The park opens before you, like a stage with no curtain. It's not grand, just a stretch of grass, a few trees leaning in as if gossiping, and benches warmed by late morning sun. But it has that curious 1920s charm, somewhere between a picnic and a protest. You choose a bench beneath a maple tree, the kind with leaves shaped like tiny jazz hands. The slats are uneven, and one squeaks when you sit. You don't mind. It's part of the soundtrack now. Across the green, a young woman kicks off her shoes and begins to dance. No music, no audience, just her and the rhythm in her bones. It's the Charleston Noor, something close to it. Her knees fly out at wild angles. Her heels smack the grass with reckless cheer, and her arms flap like she's trying to swat invisible bees. Rhythmically, she's not polished, she's not precise, she's perfect. Nearby, an old man with a cane taps along, his mouth tight like he's trying not to smile. A toddler attempts to mimic her moves and falls over with the grace of a sack of flour. Everyone watches. No one interrupts. You lean back, letting the sunlight dapple through the leaves, and wonder what it would be like to dance like that. To throw your limbs around and trust they'll land somewhere joyful, somewhere deliberate. Flappers were all the rage, of course. Magazines claimed they were ruining society one shimmy at a time. But here, in this moment, she's not a scandal. She's a sermon. And the gospel is, move like nobody's watching, and especially like nobody's judging. You exhale through your nose, soft and slow, lips curling at the corners. The grass sways, the breeze carries laughter like perfume. And the bench doesn't squeak anymore, it's listening. The dancer spins, falls, laughs, and does it all again. You close your eyes just for a breath, and time slows with the rhythm of her twirling feet. The sun climbs higher, and the air shifts warmer now, with that late morning hum where the city forgets to rush. You're still on the bench, legs stretched, just enough to look relaxed but not rude. A soft thump lands beside you, a folded newspaper, freshly borrowed from a passing vendor, with a trusting smile and a wink that said, "Bring it back, or don't." You open it with a soft crackle. Page 4, crossword, not too big, not too smug, just enough boxers to challenge your pride without bruising it. You fish a pencil from your coat pocket shoot end. Slightly dull and stare at 3 across. Jazz City with swing. 4 letters. Easy. St. Louis. Or maybe Duke. Wait, no. Duke isn't a city. Next clue. Something flappers wore with flair. 6 letters. Could be fringe. Could be scandal. You smirk and keep going. Next to you, someone exhales. Smoke in a lazy ribbon. You glance over, it's a man with a soft hat, a soft mustache, and a face that looks like he's seen too many rainstorms and decided they were all a bit too dramatic. He offers you a cigarette. You shake your head politely. He shrugs and lights one for himself, the flame briefly golden in the breeze. It flares, then disappears, leaving behind that dry, peppery smell that always lingers in coat collars and between paragraphs. Crosswords are lies, he says without looking. Better than horoscopes, you reply. He snorts. Friendship, forged, you. Fill in Garter for 17 down, even though you're not entirely sure. There's no prize, no deadline, just the slow satisfaction of letters finding their places, like people finally arriving at a party where they belong. Historians might argue crossword puzzles didn't truly take off until the late 20s, but here, on this bench, time is soft around the edges. You chew your pencil, squint at a clue, and feel the breeze turn just a little cooler, like it's leaning in to help. You leave the park eventually, crossword folded in your coat pocket like a half-told story. The sidewalk warms your soles as you stroll slowly, like the day is yours to stretch. You pass a row of stoops, with peeling, paint and potted plants clinging to life in chipped enamel tins. Then, from an open doorway, you hear it, a crackle, a spin, a voice full of gravel and honey, a phonograph. You pause. A young woman sits on her front steps, wearing a loose blouse, rolled up sleeves, and a look that says she knows secrets. A portable phonograph rests beside her, needle dancing through the grooves of a spinning disc. Music pours out, skipping slightly on one note like it's catching its breath. "Want to hear Bessie Smith?" she asks without turning her head. You nod and settle on the lowest step beside her. The record is worn, the sound scratchy like it came through a long, dusty tunnel, but the voice, oh, that voice. It wails, it sighs. It tells you everything and nothing at once. "She's the best," the woman says, lighting a cigarette with a match struck against her shoe. "Better than that, Chicago fellow, what's his name, all something." You offer Capone. She laughs, smoke curling up with her chuckle. "No, not that AL. The other one. Less bullet why." You listen together in silence. A few children run by, shouting about a lost marble. A dog barks, like it's narrating the street. But the music softens it all, like brushing dust off an old photo. Bessie sings about love and loss, and rivers that don't care who you are. The phonograph clicks off at the end of the record. Neither of you moves to restart it. "Wanna try the next one?" she asks. You shake your head. Not yet. Historians say race records gave voice to the Black American experience. But they never quite capture this. The hush that follows, where a stranger and a song make the world feel small and safe. You lean back against the steps and let the silence hum. You wander again, as one does when the day is too soft to resist. And soon enough, the familiar red-danned white awning of the corner drugstore appears like a little flag of promise. Inside, the air is cooler, minty, almost clinical, with undertones of sugar and soap. The soda fountain wraps around the center of the room like a gleaming horseshoe, its chrome trim polished within an inch of its life. The stools squeak as you sit. "Root beer or Coca-Cola?" the soda jerk asks, already holding a tall glass like he's ready for battle. You hesitate. He grins. "Don't say grape phosphate. That's just purple lies." To your right, a man in suspenders slaps the counter. "Coca-Cola is medicinal. It was literally invented by a pharmacist." Across from him, a girl with freckles and no fear replies, "Exactly. That's why root beer tastes better. Wasn't made to cure anything." The debate escalates quickly. First versus bite, sweetness versus nostalgia, the ethics of carbonation. A woman at the end of the counter suggests sarsaparilla, just to start trouble. You sip your root beer, squally cold, rich, the kind that coats your teeth in joy, and watch them all volley opinions like tennis balls. No one's really angry, just deeply, wildly certain. Above you, a ceiling fan spins lazily, barely disturbing the air. A boy drops a nickel into the tabletop jukebox and flips through the pages like he's choosing a destiny. The soda jerk, still smug, sets a scoop of vanilla ice cream on your glass, on the house. "Can't argue with the float," he says, and honestly, you can't. Historians sometimes overlook soda fountains, focusing on gangsters and speakeasies instead. But here, amid clinking glasses and fizzy pride, you realize this was the real social scene: syrup, sass, and a splash of generational disagreement. You stir your float gently, and the bubbles rise like tiny applause. You step back into the sun, lips tingling from the last sip of soda, the sweet aftertaste still curling in your mouth like a good secret. Your feet take you down a quieter street, now narrow, shaded, with windows curtained, and cats watching from sills like sleepy The buzz of the soda fountain fades behind you, replaced by the muffled hush of pages waiting to be turned. The library stands quietly at the corner. No marble columns, no grand statues, just brick, vines curling up one side, and a heavy oak door that smells like varnish and rainy Sundays. You step inside. Cool air wraps around you like a blanket kept in a drawer too long. The wooden floors creak in polite, library-approved whispers. Dust motes hang in the light like old memories. There's something about the silence that feels reverent. You wander past tall shelves, fiction, history, cookbooks, poetry. A librarian, in a mauve sweater, eyes you over her spectacles, as if she knows your overdue record. You nod solemnly and keep walking. Then, in the back corner, the future, or what the 1920s thinks it looks like. The microfiche machine. You sit, curious, and peer into the tiny screen. Pages of old newspapers flick by, their fonts absurdly tiny. Headlines dramatic enough to rival Greek tragedy. Eel disrupts subway commute. Lady in hat starts jazz riot, mayor misplaces town bell. You chuckle, a little too loud. The librarian clears her throat from 2 rooms away. You flip to an article on moving pictures, then one about women flying planes. You pause there. The world, it seems, is unfolding. Historians will later call the 1920s an age of information bloomed: radio, books, film, Newspapers' ideas, poured out faster than anyone could fold them. But here, surrounded by the scent of glue and ink, it feels slower, softer, like time is passing, one page at a time. You exhale, close the drawer gently, and tiptoe back into the stacks. The books breathe with you, and the world outside fades. Just a little more. You drift from the library with the scent of paper still clinging to your sleeves, the quiet still echoing faintly in your steps. The afternoon light has turned golden, now thicker, warmer, spilling over awnings and stone like syrup. You pass a small shop with a painted globe in the window and a stack of hand-drawn travel posters leaning slightly to one side. Paris, only $480 by boat and rail. The poster features a blushing Eiffel Tower under a blue-pink sky, surrounded by stars that look suspiciously hand-doodled. You stop, you stare, and just like that, you're gone. You're in Paris. In your mind, the sea voyage was smooth. Your suitcase didn't get soaked. You wore a silk scarf, and everyone complimented it. You ate a croissant on a balcony and waved at people you didn't know, like you were old friends. No one spoke English, but somehow you still understood every joke. The Eiffel Tower rises before you now, in that half-dream, way taller than anything you've seen. Metallic lace against the sky. Someone is sketching it on a bench nearby. Someone else is proposing beneath it. A man plays accordion with too much emotion and too little accuracy. It's perfect. Then a truck backfires nearby and jolts you gently back to the sidewalk. You're not in Paris. You're in Cincinnati. Or maybe Cleveland. You can't remember, but it doesn't matter. The poster still flutters a little in the breeze, as if waving goodbye to your fantasy self. You smile and keep walking. The truth is, most Americans didn't travel far in the 1920s, certainly not across oceans. But dreams were always on sale, printed on glossy paper and pasted to storefront glass. You hum a little imaginary tune, maybe French, maybe not. The sun brushes your cheek as you turn the corner, and your daydream lingers like perfume. You find yourself drawn by laughter, bright, echoing, and slightly chaotic. The kind that only comes from water and daring just down the block. Past a grocery with 3 suspiciously perfect oranges in the window is the public pool. Not grand, not even particularly clean, but popular. Always popular. A sign reads, "Bathing suits must not exceed above knee." Someone's underlined, not in thick black paint. Twice, you ease through the gate, greeted by the sharp scent of chlorine, baking concrete, and whatever cologne the lifeguard is using far too generously. Children squeal with delight as they cannonball into the deep end, limbs flying like joyful chaos. Teenagers loiter near the diving board, pretending they aren't watching each other. A woman sunbathes in a striped one-piece, a parasol shading her face like it's hiding state secrets. Your eyes land on a man arguing with a staff member about the scandalous length of his niece's swimsuit. It's exactly an inch too short, and clearly an inch too modern. The niece, for her part, floats on her back like a goddess, utterly unbothered. You sit on the edge of the pool, your feet just grazing the surface. The water is cold enough to spark a shiver, but welcome. You swirl your toes and watch the ripples fan out tiny waves, interrupting someone's perfect reflection. Bathing fashions have caused an uproar lately. Swimmers have been arrested, believe it or not, for daring to show knees. Knees, of all things. Historians still scratch their heads about it, while trying not to laugh. A beach ball bounces your way. You swat it back without thinking. The kids cheer like you saved a nation. You lean back on your palms, the sun warming your shoulders, the shouts blending into a soft roar, and for a moment, you feel weightless. Even without entering the water, you dry your feet on your handkerchief, hardly effective, but charmingly optimistic. Carry on down the avenue. Just ahead, the glass door of a narrow boutique swings open with a jingle. A breeze wafts out, perfumed with powder, leather polish, and the very specific thrill of impulse shopping. Inside, Shoes. Dozens of them. Rows and rows, like little personalities, waiting to be tried on. You step in cautiously, as though entering a chapel. The air is cooler, hushed. Every shoe shines under soft yellow bulb straps. Mary Jane's, tiny heels no higher than your pinky. One glittering pair sparkles so violently it might qualify as a weapon. A young shopgirl appears, bright-eyed and brave, wearing silver shoes, and a smile that implies she's both seen and committed fashion crimes. Looking for sensible or scandalous? She asks. One brow arched. You gesture vaguely toward a pair of black patent leather flapper shoes, rounded toe, delicate buckle, just enough heel to be noticed, not enough to fall off the sidewalk. She fetches them with flair, like a magician, revealing her final trick. You try them on. The leather hugs your foot like it already knows your secrets. You stand, just a touch taller. Not enough to rule a country, but enough to survive the Charleston without injury. Probably. She nods approvingly. You walk into a speakeasy in those. No one asks your name. They ask what song you want the band to play. You grin. It's ridiculous. It's perfect. Historians often note that women's fashion in the 1920s was liberation stitched in seams, but they rarely mention the shoes. These shoes don't just walk. They declare. You take a slow step across the floor. They squeak slightly, confidently. You don't buy them. You just enjoy the moment. The height, the sparkle, the idea of becoming someone slightly bolder than you were this morning. You step back out into the sunlight, heels clicking softly in your imagination. The city buzzes behind you as you wander upward through a narrow stairwell, up for flights of stubborn steps, and out onto the rooftop. The door sticks a little, then groans open like it's letting you in on a secret. You're alone up here, mostly. A few laundry lines stretch across the brick expanse like stringy clouds. Potted plants sit stubbornly in chipped crates. Somewhere nearby, someone's radio hums low jazz again, slow and syrupy. But your eyes are on the sky. You brought a kite. It's old, paper-thin, tail-frayed, paint-peeling. You found it behind your wardrobe last spring and promised it one more dance. Today is its day. The wind-up here is different, cleaner, braver, full of things it hasn't told the buildings. Below, you unwind the string, hold the kite out like an offering, and run. Jog. Well, a brisk shuffle. The rooftop's not that big. The kite lifts. Not far, but far enough to make your chest swell a little. It wobbles, catches the air, and suddenly it's flying. Not soaring, not triumphant, but proudly defiant in its lopsided way. You grip the string tight, the tension humming in your palm. The kite dances, dips, spins, completely ignoring your instructions. You laugh and let it misbehave. Below, cars honk like geese in formal wear. Voices echo faintly off brick. But up here, it's just you, the breeze, and this clumsy rectangle of paper pretending to be a bird. Historians might say rooftop. Kite flying wasn't common in the 1920s. Maybe it wasn't, but people always found joy where the sky met. Their fingertips sessly when the world felt a little too solid. A pigeon flaps nearby, looks at your kite, and seems unimpressed. You grin anyway. The string tugs, the paper flutters, and for a moment, the whole sky feels yours. The clouds drift slow above, and your breath drifts with them. You descend from the rooftop slowly, still holding that breezy feeling like it might float out of your pocket if you move too fast. Back on the street, the day has thickened, the kind of golden lull that makes windows gleam and ice melt in soda glasses. You meander, without purpose, just following wherever the sidewalk hums. Then you hear it, clack, clackety, ding. You turn your head. A storefront with a green awning reads, Jenkins & Sons Typewriters, sold, repaired, respected. You're pulled in, maybe by curiosity, maybe by the noise. Inside, it's chaotic. Delightfully so. Rows of typewriters line the walls like upright little soldiers, each one clicking, clacking, and occasionally dinging under the command of their test drivers. Young men in suspenders, women with sharp bobs and sharper eyes, a boy no older than 10 typing the cat ate pie over and over with serious conviction. The air is filled with the metallic symphony of productivity, tiny hammers striking ink against paper. A sound as sharp and certain as a promise. You step up to a Remington with brass keys and a red ribbon. Its body is chipped, but proud. You rest your fingers on the keys cold, smooth, and start typing without thinking. The day is warm. The city listens. A clerk nearby nods approvingly. You've got a poet's spacing. You smile, unsure if it's a compliment or gentle sarcasm. Either way, you'll take it. Historians sometimes say the typewriter revolutionized modern work, especially for women, and they're right. But here, today, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like a game with rhythm, a jazz solo and punctuation. You write 3 more lines. Nonsense, mostly, but satisfying nonsense. You leave your page there, unsigned, like a secret planted among manuals and mechanics. The bell above the door jingles as you exit, and behind you, the clacking carries on. Like rain on a tin roof, your stomach growls low, deliberate, and unashamed. You follow your nose down the block until it leads you to a glass and tile corner building that glows with the warm promise of simplicity. Horn and hard art automat, the future, served in tiny glass windows. You step inside, and the first thing that hits you is the soft clang of coins dropping and the gentle, polite chaos of lunchtime humanity. There's no waitstaff, no menus, shouted across counters, just rows of shining cubbies, each holding perfectly portioned meals behind gleaming little doors. Chicken pot pie, creamed spinach, ham sandwich on rye, baked beans that look better than they sound, and of course, lemon meringue pie with a peak like a snowy mountain dream. You wander the walls slowly, like a museum goer, admiring small masterpieces. You slip in a nickel. Click. The tiny door opens with a soft pop, and there it is, your chosen treasure. A hot roast beef sandwich on a plate the size of a record. The bread is thick, the gravy bold, and it smells like someone's grandmother and someone's diner shook hands and made peace. You sit at a marble-topped table near the window, surrounded by strangers, none of whom are talking, just chewing, nodding, and occasionally whispering about whether the rice pudding is worth the extra coin. It is always. Someone to your left clinks a spoon against a coffee cup with such precision. It's practically percussion. The air smells of butter and metal trays. The floor hums with soft footsteps, and a woman in a feathered hat laughs once. Just once, and it echoes faintly like music. Historians often call automats an early form of fast food, but they miss the ritual, the coin, the door, the reveal. It's like opening a present and eating it slowly. You savor your last bite, not rushed, not distracted, just grateful. The chair creaks gently as you rise, and your full belly agrees. This moment is just enough. You step out of the automat with a satisfied sigh, the air crisp against your cheeks and your pockets a little lighter, your last nickel well spent. Just around the corner, the sidewalk crowds slightly. People gather, clustering under a tall, blinking marquee like moths, drawn to electric dreams. The theater, the sign above the entrance flickers. Grand Star Cinema today. Clara Bow and Wings of Desire now with organ. You weren't planning to see a movie? But then again, most good things weren't planned. You shuffle toward the box office, where a woman in marcelled waves and dark lipstick sits in a tiny booth that smells of popcorn and mild disapproval. You slide over your coin. She slides back a ticket. The line is alive, children skipping, couples whispering. A man in suspenders trying to impress his date by dramatically explaining what cinematography means. He's definitely wrong, but she lets him finish. A boy behind you hums the Charleston under his breath. An older woman clutches her purse like it contains national secrets. The whole crowd pulses with anticipation. The lobby glows ahead ornate brass fixtures. Velvet ropes, a poster of Clara Bow with her chin slightly tilted and her eyes promising something you'll never quite understand. A popcorn vendor spins paper cones with the flair of a magician. You consider buying one just to applaud him. Historians often describe 1920s cinema as an escape of flickering dream in a world that still remembered war and wasn't quite ready for what came next. And maybe they're right, but standing here, the real magic is the noise, the smell, the giddy silence before the screen lights up. The usher swings the door open, and a wave of cool air kisses your face. You step inside, ticket stub in hand, and the world begins to hush around you. One breath, one dimming light at a time. The theater swallows you whole. Inside, it's a velvet cave, dark, hushed, and slightly cool, with the faint scent of popcorn, floor polish, and old secrets. The screen looms ahead, still blank, glowing, faintly like a sleeping ghost. You find your seat middle row, slightly left, where the view's best, and the floor is least sticky. The cushions are thin but forgiving. They creak like old friends settling in. The lights dim. A ripple moves through the crowd, not noise, not motion, just breath, collective, anticipatory, a little holy. And then, the screen flickers. Clara Bow appears, larger than life, with eyes that speak whole paragraphs and lips that curve in secret jokes only she understands. There's no sound. Of course, just the delicate clatter of the live pianist below the screen, fingers dancing across ivory keys like he's chasing the story. The film leaps from scene to scene, warplanes, longing glances, a lipstick-stained letter that folds slowly in the wind. It's absurd, it's melodramatic, it's perfect. You find yourself leaning in, not for volume, there is none, but for feeling. The actors gesture grandly, emotions painted in strokes broad enough for the last row to weep over next to you. Someone sighs audibly when Clara's eyes glisten. The piano keeps pace, galloping during chase scenes, soft and trembling during heartbreak. At one point, the pianist misses a note, curses under his breath, and keeps going. No one minds. Historians always emphasize the spectacle of early cinema, the grandeur, the invention, the silver nitrate drama, but they rarely capture this, the warmth of strangers, side by side, watching shadows pretend to be people and caring deeply anyway. You dab your eyes, maybe dust, maybe not. The scene fades to black. Applause breaks out, soft but real. The lights don't come up just yet. You sit, still, letting the dark cradle you for just a while longer. The theater lights finally rise, and the magic dissolves, softly, like sugar in tea. You blink. The real world returns in warm hues, row by row of flushed faces, half-whispered, "Wasn't that something?" and the rustle of coats pulled from laps. The pianist stands from his small stool and gives a theatrical bow. There's a moment of silence, then clapping, and here's where things get interesting. You join in, of course. Everyone does. But your timing, slightly off. You're just a heartbeat behind the rhythm. A beat too slow, then a beat too fast. You try to adjust. Your hands meet with a sound that's more apology than applause. The man next to you gives a sideways glance, then kindly, discreetly, miraculously slows his clapping to match yours. Now, it's a duet. You laugh under your breath. He winks, and then the clapping fades, leaving only a murmur of appreciation and the metallic creak of seats flipping upright. Outside in the lobby, the energy lingers. A few people hum the film's theme, even though no one really knows the tune. The usher tips his cap as you leave, his shoes squeaking on the polished tile like shy jazz. You step out onto the sidewalk, blinking into the afternoon light. It's warmer now, brighter, like the city got jealous of the screen and decided to show off a little. You hum something as you walk, maybe the piano melody, maybe just the rhythm of your shoes. For the first time today, you clap your hands once, gently, and hit the beat just right. Historians often praise the technical innovation of early film, the grandeur of silent epics, but they forget this part. Learning to listen, to feel, to sync, with something bigger than yourself even. If it's just applause in a small-town theater, you stroll onward, feet steady. Rhythm found. The rhythm from the theater still taps softly in your chest as you stroll down the block and then you hear it. Ding, ding, clack whoop. It draws you like a flame does a moth. The penny arcade tucked between a tailor and a tobacconist, the arcade glows with buzzing lights and mechanical giggles. The air inside smells of sawdust, electricity, and a little too much cologne probably from that same lifeguard you smelled earlier. You step in. The floor tilts slightly, and the machines greet you in an eager chorus. Fortune tellers behind dusty glass, mechanical cowboys with jerky arms, and rows of flickering flip card machines, showing boxing matches frame by frame. You drop a penny into the strongman challenge. A small hammer rises and smacks a tiny anvil. The dial spins. It lands on mildly sturdy. You shrug. Fair enough. Next, the love meter. A red heart lights up slowly and then stops at sizzling. You raise an eyebrow. The machine rattles, possibly in protest. In the back corner, you find your favorite flip card movie of a man being chased by a goose. You crank the handle fast at first, then slower. The images blur into comedy. The goose always wins. Children dart between machines, shouting over beeps and bells. A woman in a checkered dress cheers when her coin drop game spits out 3 marbles instead of 2. A teenage boy loses a nickel in a faulty machine and shouts, "Robbery," as if someone's summoned the cops. Historians say arcades were an early peek into entertainment tech, a taste of mechanized wonder. But really, they were playgrounds for grown-ups too shy to dance and too restless to sit still. You press your forehead gently to the cold glass of a fortune teller machine. Her jeweled hand rests on a crystal ball. You don't drop a penny this time. You already know your fortune. More wandering, more wonder, and maybe one more goose chase. You step back into the street, still smiling, the sounds of the arcade echoing, like a lullaby spun by gears. You round the corner, the arcade's clinks and whistles, still echoing faintly in your ears. But now, another sound takes over, sharper, louder, and delivered with the urgency of a man convinced the end is nigh. Jazz is the devil's trombone. The preacher bellows. You pause. He's standing on an upside-down milk crate, waving a rolled-up pamphlet like it's about to combust. His tie is crooked. His hair looks recently wrestled, and his eyes, well, they've seen some things. Possibly a particularly raucous dance marathon. Syncopation leads to sin, he shouts, stomping for effect. 1 minute you're tapping your foot, the next you're drinking bathtub gin and writing poetry. A small crowd gathers, some amused, some nodding along. One man in the back pretends to play a clarinet every time Satan's saxophone is mentioned. You try not to laugh. The preacher points directly at you. Have you heard the trumpet of temptation? You blink, then calmly reply, yes, it's in B-flat. A few snickers ripple through the crowd. The preacher huffs and launches into a new tirade about jazz ruining America's youth, closely followed by soda, bare ankles, and crossword puzzles. Apparently we're all doomed. Behind him, someone sells peanuts. It's theatrical really. Like vaudeville, with more fire and fewer feathers. Historians note how many communities feared jazz in its early days, how they saw it as wild, rebellious, dangerous, and in some ways, it was. It stirred people. It made hips sway and toes tap, and hearts beat, oh for them, a quiet revolution. In 4 quarters time, the preacher's voice grows hoarse, his words tumbling over themselves now. The crowd slowly drifts away, like the last notes of a song. You smile, Adjust your scarf, and keep walking. Somewhere nearby, a saxophone wails into the wind, just loud enough to make the preacher twitch. Your shoes tap along the pavement. Soft syncopation of rebellion. You walk a few blocks further, until the noise thins out. The street narrows, and a crooked sign swings lazily above a small, dusty doorway. The Museum of Curiosities and Curated Confusion, -5 admission. How could you resist? Inside, it's quiet and strange. Gloriously strange. The floor creaks like it's sharing secrets with your shoes. The lighting is dim, mostly from old wall sconces and one bulb that flickers with theatrical indecision. A woman at the front desk, half asleep, fully unimpressed, waves you in with a pencil. The first display case houses a real mummified alligator hand, or possibly a turnip. It's brown, shriveled, and vaguely angry looking. The sign says, "Don't tap glass. It might remember you." Smile. Further in, there's a two-headed calf, suspended in yellowed fluid. Its twin faces turned slightly apart, like they never agreed on anything. Next to it, the world's smallest Bible, no bigger than a match head. The sign reads, miraculously unreadable. A child nearby gasps at a taxidermy squirrel, dressed as Napoleon. You wander slowly, each creaking floorboard syncing with your heartbeat. Glass cases filled with teeth, buttons, newspaper clippings of people who may or may not have disappeared under mysterious circumstances. One display simply says, "Unclaimed glove, 1911. You find yourself staring at it for a bit too long. Historians rarely talk about these places, the not-quite sites, not-quite hoax museums that popped up in back alleys and storefronts. But they were everywhere. A place to feel wonder, to laugh, to quietly ask, "Is this real?" and never get a straight answer. You leave your nickel in the donation bowl and push through the velvet curtain at the exit. Outside, the air smells better, cleaner. The sky seems a little wider. You shake your head, chuckling softly. You still don't know what that alligator hand turnip was, but your day just got a little weirder, a little better. The door shuts behind you, and the creaking fades like an odd little lullaby. You cross the street, still half lost in thoughts of two-headed calves and squirrels with Napoleon complexes, when the unmistakable scent hits you. Vanilla, waffle cone, something vaguely banana, and the line winds around the corner, like it's selling secrets. Not Sundays. You glance at the sign above the counter. Today only. Banana splits 2, 3 scoops, no regrets. Naturally, you join the end of the queue. It moves slow, like molasses trying to pass a polite conversation in front of you. A couple argues over toppings. Behind you, a small boy stares at your shoes, like they've personally offended him. The man ahead shouts, "They're out of strawberry." A collective groan ripples through the crowd like a tragic opera in one syllable. You wait. The sun warms your back. The smell of melting chocolate curls through the air like an invitation. A group of teenagers in front of the window clink their spoons against sundae glasses, trying to get the attention of the server, a young man in a paper hat who clearly regrets his life choices. Eventually, finally, you reach the front. You order with the gravity of someone accepting a Nobel Prize. Vanilla, chocolate, banana, whipped cream, a cherry, if fate allows. The glass bowl is handed to you like an offering from the gods. You sit on the curb outside, knees bent, spoon in hand, and take your first bite. It's cold, it's sweet, it's absolutely too much, and not nearly enough. You sigh. Historians often romanticize prohibition parties and jazz clubs, but they overlook this. The silent reverence of a city paused for dessert. No speakeasy had this kind of universal approval. The ice cream melts faster than you can finish. That's okay. You lick the last drop from your spoon. A child applauds. You bow slightly. The afternoon sun shimmers like caramel, and the day softens around the edges once more. You wipe the last trace of whipped cream from your chin with a napkin that disintegrates heroically in the effort, and begin to wander once more. The park calls you back, same trees, same lazy squirrels, but now with a new sound riding on the breeze. A ukulele, not professional, not perfect, but utterly sincere. You follow the tune down a winding path until you spot her. A woman perched on a stone bench beneath a maple tree, strumming gently. Her dress is patterned with tiny sailboats. Her shoes are scuffed in all the right places. She sings just under her breath, but loud enough to make the birds pause and listen. You linger at the edge of the clearing, unsure if you're meant to be an audience or just a passing moment. She glances up, smiles, and keeps playing. The song is cheerful, something about lemonade and lost shoes, maybe love, or lunch. You're not entirely sure, but you'd hum it again if you could. A dog trots past with a stick in its mouth the size of a canoe, or no one stops it. It's clearly on a mission. Nearby, a group of children attempt to dance, their limbs a joyful tangle of effort and improvisation. One falls, then laughs so hard she forgets to get up. The ukulele strums on, undisturbed. Historians tend to ignore these moments, soft, unrecorded ones. No headlines here, no declarations. But this, right now, is how most of the Roaring '20s was really lived. Not with champagne towers and underground clubs, but with sun-dappled benches and a song you never knew you needed. The woman finishes her tune with a flourish. You clap once, softly. She grins like that's enough. You sit on the grass. The melody fades, but the feeling lingers. The breeze shifts and carries you gently into the next hour. The sun dips just slightly, casting long shadows from the trees as you wander out of the park. You pass a row of brick apartments where the windows are open. Radios hum quietly, and someone is frying something that smells a lot like onions and questionable choices. Then you see them in a shaded stoop. A group of women hunched in quiet intensity over a card table. MAHJONG. Tiles clack like whispered secrets, sharp, rapid, decisive. The players don't speak, at least not in full words, just murmurs, glances, the occasional sharp inhale, followed by a triumphant pung. You pause, at the edge of the sidewalk. No one looks up, but somehow, they know you're watching. One woman, a short, round force of nature in a lavender dress, raises an eyebrow, like she's both daring you to try and warning you not to. You shake your head politely. She smirks. The tiles themselves are beautiful. Small rectangles of smooth ivory with tiny painted symbols, dots, bamboos, dragons, like miniature dominoes from another world. A breeze stirs a few on the edge of the table, and a hand reaches out, steadying them before they can escape. You try to follow the game. You fail spectacularly. There's some matching, some discarding, some mystical, internal logic. You hear the words, east wind and flower tile, and wonder if they're playing or casting spells. Historians often overlook domestic leisure like this, especially games brought over by immigrants, women, and communities that didn't leave much on the official record. But Mahjong swept through America in the '20s like a quiet storm, elegant, complicated, addictive. A tile slaps the table. A woman grins, stands, and announces, "That's it." The others groan dramatically. Someone mutters, "Again." You tip your imaginary hat and keep walking. The sound of clacking tiles fades behind you, like rain on a porcelain roof. You barely make it 2 blocks before you hear raised voices, sharp, familiar, and oddly affectionate. 2 men stand outside, a corner barber shop, sleeves rolled, hands gesturing wildly in the air, like jazz conductors with very strong opinions. "I'm telling you." The first insists, jabbing a finger for emphasis. "Ruth's put on at least 15 pounds since last season." "Nonsense." The second barks back, arms crossed. "That's power weight." The man hits like a freight train. You slow your pace. This is the kind of debate that asks nothing of you, except to listen and, perhaps silently take sides. A third voice chimes in from the shop door. He's built like a barrel of beer and twice as dangerous. The others laugh, momentarily united. They argue stats, batting averages, whether Babe eats 6 or 12 hot dogs between innings. Someone says he saw Ruth once in person and swears the man glowed like a mythical creature under the stadium. Lights. You nod slightly, eyes drifting to the newspaper taped to the window. It shows Ruth mid-swing, cheeks puffed, eyes fierce, arms the size of tree trunks. The headline reads, "The Sultan of SWAT strikes again." A small boy nearby listens, wide-eyed, clenching a baseball in both hands like it might hatch. He tugs his father's sleeve and whispers, "Do you think he could hit a ball to the moon?" No one answers, but no one says no. Historians often reduce Ruth to stats and salary. But he was more than a player. He was a story people told to each other to feel bigger, braver, bolder, a symbol of a country swinging for the fences. You smile and move on, the sound of good-natured bickering fading behind you like the distant cheer of a radio broadcast. The sidewalk is warm beneath your steps, and your own stride feels just a little more heroic. The streets slowly thin of chatter as you drift into the cool, marbled halls of the local train station. It's grand in a modest way till windows smeared with sunlight, stone floors that echo every step like a soft percussion, and wooden benches worn smooth by waiting. You find a quiet corner near the timetable board, slide onto a bench, and pull a small notepad from your coat pocket. The pencil's worn, the eraser half chewed, but it'll do. You begin to sketch. Not anything specific at first, just lines, shapes, swirls. Then slowly, faces emerge. That woman with the heavy fur collar, nose, buried in a magazine. The porter, with shoulders broad enough to carry stories instead of suitcases. A boy clinging to a balloon shaped like a duck. Why? It's a duck. No one knows. Across the platform, a young man waits by the gate, suitcase at his feet, tie slightly crooked. He keeps checking his watch, even though the train's not due for 20 minutes. You draw him too, just as he scratches the back of his neck and tries to look like he isn't nervous. Every now and then, a train arrives. The whistle moans, wheels screech, and a burst of motion floods the room, hugging, waving, hat-tipping, crying. Then the stillness returns, as quickly as it left. You shade in a window, smudge a shadow, and realize your sketch is mostly about pauses, faces caught between places. That's the thing about train stations. They hold people in the middle of things, not where they were, not quite where they're going. Historians often write about the roaring trains, the economic shifts, the speed of change. But here, in the waiting, you find something slower, softer, human. Your pencil trails off the edge of the page as you rest your hand. The station hushes again, the clock ticks, and your breath matches the rhythm. You leave the station with your sketchpad still open, pencil tucked behind your ear like a secret. The city feels quieter now, its edges rounded by the soft glow of late afternoon. You turn a corner, then another, then music. You pause outside a low brick building with wide windows thrown open. Inside, polished wood floors, the faint scent of talcum powder, and a phonograph squealing out a quick-tempo jazz tune like it's running from something, and people dancing. Fast. You're about to move along when a voice calls out, "We need another pair." Before you can object or fully understand what's happening, you're swept through the door by a woman in a polka-dot dress who spins with the confidence of a thunderstorm. She hands you off to someone else mid-beat, and suddenly, you're in a rehearsal. A dozen dancers whirl around you, twisting, stepping, sliding, arms sharp and legs alive. It's not elegant, it's electric. Everyone's sweating. No one's counting. You do your best. It goes about as well as expected. Left, right, wait. Was that a kick or a trip? Your partner smiles. You're doing great. You step on his foot. Still great. The room smells like dust in motion. A few ceiling fans click above, trying their best. The phonograph skips every so often, but no one stops moving. Eventually, the music ends. You freeze mid-step like a caught statue. Everyone claps. Some for the music. Some, you suspect, for you surviving. You laugh. You haven't laughed like that in days. Historians like to talk about the Lindy Hop, the Charleston, the birth of American dance culture bet. They rarely mention how it felt to jump in by accident, to stumble through joy, to sweat with strangers, and leave a little lighter. You wipe your brow, thank your accidental partner, and step back into the street, your shoes still tapping faint echoes of rhythm on the pavement. The city's tempo slows as you walk, your limbs pleasantly loosened by the impromptu dance. The breeze is cooler now, stirring your collar and tugging at your sleeves like a soft suggestion to turn down a quieter street. You do. And there it is, tucked between a tailor's shop and a closed-up cobbler's window, a narrow bookstore, with a crooked sign that reads, A. Moore's Books and Other Reckless Thoughts. The door creaks like it's surprised to be opened. Inside, paradise. Dust hangs in the air like memory. Shelves stretch high and stubborn, sagging slightly under the weight of ambition. The floorboards creak in protest, but they're polite about it. Somewhere in the back, a cat is definitely watching you. You can't see it, but you know. You drift past stacks of poetry, philosophy, and political pamphlets that look like they've started at least 3 arguments today. A handwritten sign over one display reads, Stein is out. Fitzgerald is in. Again. You pause at a shelf labeled Banned in Boston, which contains nothing but cheeky titles and at least 2 books. Wrapped in brown paper, with only a question mark on the cover. A woman in horn-rimmed glasses sits behind the counter, reading a novel so intently she doesn't notice you exist. Or maybe she does and simply doesn't care. That feels oddly flattering. You pull a book at random. The sun also rises. The pages are slightly yellowed, the spine cracked just enough to say it's been loved, but not broken. You read a few lines. They hit differently, like someone whispering something brave. Historians talk about the lost generation, about intellectualism and literary explosions, but in this moment, it's just you, a book, and a shop that smells like ink and ideas. You place the book back gently. Outside, the city waits, but for now, you linger just a second longer, letting the hush of paper and thought wrap around you like a worn, brilliant quilt. You exhale slowly, and the shelves seem to breathe with you. The sky is starting to blush, soft strokes of orange and pink smudging the horizon, like someone got too dreamy with a paintbrush. You take a shortcut through a back alley lined with ivy and laundry. A familiar voice calls from an upstairs window. Hey, I got it working. It's your friend Mabel, cheeks flushed with excitement, hair tucked in a scarf like she's preparing for a science experiment. You climb the narrow steps to her apartment. The wooden stairs groaning under your shoes like an old man muttering. Inside, it smells like strong tea and stronger determination. And there it is, center stage, on a doily-draped table, her brand new radio, boxy, beautiful, humming faintly, like it has opinions. It took 3 fuses, a burned thumb, and a very persuasive screwdriver, she announces proudly. But I think it's tuned in now. She turns the dial gently. The static hisses and grumbles, then clears like someone clearing their throat behind the curtain of time. And then, music. A woman's voice pours out, smooth, slow, and smoky. It sounds like she's singing just for you and Mabel, and the cat curled up on the windowsill. You sit on the couch. It sinks more than expected. You both lean toward the speaker, like if you get close enough, you'll fall into it. Mabel holds her teacup like it might shatter if she breathes too loud. The song ends. A man's voice replaces Etrich, warm, and slightly bored. You've been listening to WJZ, bringing you the modern spirit of the age. Stay tuned for weather and a lecture on personal hygiene. You both burst out laughing. Historians love to talk about how radio changed everything: news, politics, entertainment, but they rarely talk about this: the silence after a song, the shared grin, the feeling of being part of something invisible and enormous. You stay a while, sipping tea, listening to the next tune drift in from the ether. The cat purrs softly, and the radio hums, like the future whispering from a wooden box. Later, with the last of the tea warming your belly and laughter still caught in your ribs, you thank Mabel and wander back out into the cooling dusk. The breeze has turned gentle, now almost shy, brushing your collar as the sunlight slips behind the rooftops. You hear the crack of a bat before you see the game: an empty lot, weeds around the edges, chalk lines drawn in the dust with someone's broken ruler. No uniforms, no scoreboard, just flat caps, scuffed shoes, and pure determination. You lean against the fence. The players mostly kids, a few teenagers, one man who might have wandered in from a tavern shout positions, heckle each other with passion, and argue about the rules with the flair of Supreme Court justices. Safe, he was out. He tripped over his own foot, exactly interference. The sun glints off a tin can used as second base. A dog guards third, entirely unaware it's not part of the team. One boy winds up to pitch slow, theatrical, all elbows. He throws. The batter swings. Crack. The ball flies a lopsided arc into the pink-streaked sky. Cheers erupt. You clap. Instinctively. A few of the kids glance over and give you a subtle nod. You're part of the crowd now. Even if it's a crowd of one. You smile. Historians tend to immortalize the 1927 Yankees. Babe Ruth, the stats, the stadiums. But this is the other side of that myth. Barefoot, dusty, glorious in its lack of precision. The evening settles like a blanket across the rooftops, soft and full of promise. You pass a row of houses where the porch lights flicker on, not too bright, just enough to cast golden halos on wooden steps and wicker chairs. Somewhere, a wind chime tinkles, gentle as a sigh. One porch in particular catches your attention. 3 women sit side by side in wide rocking chairs, knitting needles clicking in rhythm with their murmurs. They nod at you as you walk by, then continue their conversation without missing a stitch. She's eloping, one whispers, eyes wide, with the saxophonist. No, gasps another. The one with the red vest, hum, and her mother still thinks she's just taking night classes in shorthand. You slow your pace ever so slightly, pretending to admire a nearby hydrangea bush that's doing its best to survive. Oh, and did you hear about the Henderson boy? He's building a radio tower on the roof. Says he's going to talk to people in Nova Scotia. Soft chuckles ripple through the trio. One woman pats her hair as though trying to tame both it and the conversation. It's gossip, yes, but it's kind, embroidered with concern and affection and just the right amount of theatrical horror. You nod to them again as you pass. One raises an eyebrow, as if to say, "We see you, honorary eavesdropper." You tip an invisible hat. Historians love to write about flapper parties and jazz clubs, but this is where community pulses softly in the dark. Porches where secrets are passed, like lemonade, where stories evolve with each retelling, growing just enough to keep them alive. Behind you, the rocking chairs creak, voices lower, and the porch melts into the warm hush of night. Your steps soften with the dirt path, and the secrets float behind you like perfume in the dark. The sky deepens into navy blue, stars waiting patiently in the wings as the last threads of sunset pull away behind chimneys and rooftop water towers. You reach the corner just in time. A single street lamp stands there, tall, lean, and hesitant. It flickers once, waits, then again, Buzz, clunk, buzz, You pause beneath it, tilting your head upward. There's something charming about watching a light bulb make up its mind. A moth flutters near the glass, performing tiny aerial acrobatics for no one in particular. The lamp hums like it's remembering a lullaby. Then, suddenly, with a soft pop of resolve, it glows. A soft pool of golden light spills down onto the brick. You smile. It feels like the city just blinked awake again. Around you, other lamps slowly follow suit. One by one, up and down the block. Lights buzz into life, each with its own tempo, its own quiet little debut. A man across the street adjusts his tie in a shop window reflection. A cat slinks between trash cans, pausing in each new pool of light like a feline stage actor hitting its marks. Somewhere distant, a trolley bell rings, and you hear the soft shuffle of newspaper boys heading home with empty bags and tired shoes. Historians will talk about electricity's great triumph. It conquered the night and gave us longer hours. But few mention this moment, when light doesn't burst, but blooms, when it feels less like a switch, and more like a sigh. You linger a while longer beneath the lamp's gentle glow. The sidewalk now soft underfoot, the air kissed with warmth. From the bulb above, your shadow stretches behind you, like it's not ready to leave, and neither are you. The buzz fades into a hum, and the city breathes just a little easier. The streetlight behind you flickers one last time before settling into a steady glow. You take a breath, deep and quiet, and turn down a side street, not the quickest path home, but the most familiar. Cobblestones replace pavement under your shoes, a soft, uneven rhythm, the kind of road that remembers footsteps. The air smells like baked bread and cooling tar. Somewhere, a phonograph plays softly through an open window, scratchy, slow, the voice too faint to recognize but full of feeling. You follow it for a few steps, just to see whose story it's telling. You pass a fence draped with morning glories, now curling into themselves for the night. A dog barks lazily in the distance, one bark, then nothing. Even the animals are tired. In a dignified way, you pass a stoop with a stack of newspapers beside it. The top one reads, "Rumors of repeal, the dry days numbered." You smirk. The city's been wet since the day it went dry. You remember hearing stories about the bootlegger who lives 2 streets over. A man with perfect posture, a toothpick always in his mouth, and more grape juice than any reasonable household could consume. They say he hides gin inside books hollowed out by hand. They say his cat delivers messages. They say a lot of things. You adjust your collar as the breeze picks up. A few yellow leaves skate across the street like dancers late to rehearsal. Historians focus on the big swings, the politics, the protests, the passage of laws. But here, on this quiet street, with tired fences and soft footsteps, you realize the 20s didn't roar every night. Sometimes, they whispered. The shadows grow long, the lamps flicker in harmony now. The world tucks itself in dot, and so do you, walking slowly, deliberately, with the hush of home drawing closer. You climb the creaky steps to your apartment, your fingers trailing along the rail, feet heavy in the best kind of way, like they've walked through the entire decade and just now remembered the way home. The door clicks shut behind you. The room smells like old wood, warm cotton, and a trace of whatever your neighbor cooked 3 hours ago. Maybe cabbage, maybe stew, maybe both. You pour a glass of water, take 2 sips, and push open the window that groans like a sleepy bear. Outside, the fire escape waits, your favorite, not quite a porch, not quite a balcony. You climb through and settle on the metal platform, legs stretched, back against the brick. The night air brushes your face, cool now, fresh from wherever wind comes from when it wants to be gentle. Below, the city hums, not loud, not quiet, just alive. A car passes with one headlight out. A couple walks by, their conversations soft and quick. like they're in on something no one else knows. Far off, a saxophone cries through an open window, just a few notes, sad, sweet, unfinished. You close your eyes. Somewhere down the block, a door slams, a dog answers. Then silence again. The fire escape is cool under your hands, the metal tracing stories from the sun that warmed it earlier. A moth taps once against the railing, then flutters off, lost in the lamplight. Historians won't record this moment. No one will write about the small miracle of a breeze, or how the fire escape held. You like a memory, but here you are, sitting still, listening, breathing. You pull your knees up and wrap your arms around them, head resting lightly. The bricks are warm at your back. The stars peek out in hesitant clusters, like they're waiting for your permission. You give it, and the night deepens, slow and kind. Eventually, your stomach gives a gentle nudge, a soft reminder that wonder isn't a substitute for supper. You rise from the fire escape with a sigh, stretch, and re-enter the apartment. The floors creak like they missed you in the small kitchen. You light a single candle, part habit, part ambience, part compensation for the overhead bulb that flickers like it's haunted. The flickering light casts long shadows across the table, turning your chipped enamel dishes into relics of a forgotten treasure trove. You smile as you pull open the cupboard and select tonight's finest, a can of peas. You tap the lid with your spoon first, just because that's how your grandmother always did it. Then you open it with a can opener that works only if spoken too sweetly. You warm the peas in a small pot, no butter, but a dash of salt. Luxury, by depression standards. The steam curls up like a polite ghost. Next comes a slice of bread, toasted directly on the stovetop. No rack, just confidence. You set the table. Spoon, plate, the good napkin, the one without too many holes, and your old blue mug filled with water that somehow always tastes better at night, and there you sit. You eat slowly, carefully. The peas are soft, humble, and a little mushy, like they, too, have seen things. Outside, the city continues its lullaby, a distant train horn, a child laughing before bed. Somewhere, someone plays a piano scale, hesitant, imperfect, charming. Historians write about lavish speakeasy feasts, champagne pyramids, oysters served on ice. But they forget the dinners, like this, quiet, candlelit, entirely yours. You chew, you breathe, you feel full, not just from food, but from the whole of this day wrapped gently around your shoulders. The flame dances low in its holder, and you watch it with tired eyes. After dinner, you begin clearing the table. Slow and methodical, when you notice something strange. An envelope, tucked just under your door, not stamped, not labeled with any urgency. Just quietly waiting, as though it wandered in and got comfortable. You pick it up. Heavy paper. No return address. Your name isn't on it. You open it anyway. The handwriting flows in long, sweeping curves, ink slightly smudged, like someone paused mid-sentence to cry, or laugh, or maybe both. My dearest, last night, I dreamed of that summer, by the lake, the fireflies, the lemon cake. Your laugh echoing off the water like a hymn. You blink. The letter continues, full of small, tender memories that aren't yours, of hands held in public with secret boldness, of a record played too many times, of promises made when the world was louder. I still wear the scarf you left. It smells like the wind near the train station. Do you remember? You don't, but part of you wants to. The letter closes with a single line. Please, write back. If not for me, then for the wind. No name, just a pressed daisy folded inside. You stare at the paper, your candle, casting it in gold. You smile, not because it's funny, but because it's soft, and unexpected, and heartbreakingly beautiful. You tuck the letter into the drawer by your bed, not to return it, not to solve the mystery, just to keep it company. Historians won't record this either, but love letters delivered, misdelivered, or never sent are the secret heartbeat of every era. You glance at the candle. The wax pulls gently. Outside, the breeze stirs the curtains like someone exhaling a memory, and the night folds in, warm, wistful, and a little bit lovesick. The night is thick now, velvety, full of shadows that soften the city's sharp edges. You sit by the window, sipping from your blue mug again. The water's gone warm, but it doesn't matter. It's the act that comforts, not the temperature. And then, you hear it, faint, but unmistakable. Music, not just a phonograph tune, but a whole band, saxophones blaring, drums thumping, a piano losing its polite manners. A full, ferocious jazz tune crashing against the silence of night like a wave made of glitter. You stand, lean closer to the window there. Across the alley, 3 floors up, one window glows brighter than the rest. Curtains flutter in time with laughter. Shadows dance literally. Someone's balancing a drink on their head. Someone else is spinning like a top dot. It's a speakeasy, not a big, famous one. Just the kind that lives behind secondhand bookstores and inside borrowed apartments. No sign, no password, just a knock and the right kind of bold. You watch a girl in a feathered headband twirl into view. She's laughing so hard she drops her shoe. No one cares. Someone else tosses confetti. Indoors, no regrets. You grin, chin resting on the windowsill. The music pouring out like it knows your name. For a moment, you think about going, but your socks are warm. Your bed is close, and the candle's flame is swaying like it's ready to rest. Historians adore the big prohibition stories, raids, arrests, bathtub gin disasters. But they miss these quiet connections. The way music leaks into alleys, the way laughter travels across rooftops, the way you can be part of a party without ever leaving your chair. The song swells, then fades. You whisper, "Good night," to no one in particular, and the city hums back, just softly enough to lull you further in. The party across the alley fades into gentle background noise, muffled laughter, a trumpet echoing like it's lost in a dream, and yet your foot taps, softly at first. Then again, you push your chair back with a theatrical flourish. The floorboards creak under your socks, curious and encouraging. You glance around the apartment, empty, save for your candle and the curious shadows it's been casting. Well, you say to no one, might as well see if I've got rhythm. You don't, but that's hardly the point. You start slowly, step, rock back, step again, a little swing of the arms, a bounce in the knees. You've seen it done, in newsreels and parlor room gossip, the Lindy Hop, all kicks and spins and absolute abandon. You try a twist, your sock slips. You spin unintentionally. The room applauds in your head. You bow, then laugh. A big, sudden, belly-deep laugh that startles even you. The kind of laugh that shakes off the dust and sticks to your ribs like honey. You keep dancing, not for long, just enough. The rhythm carries you gently. The candle flickers in time, and the floor, that dear old floor, takes every stomp and slide. Without complaint, historians write about the wild flapper nights and the evolution of jazz dance, but they rarely mention the quiet, joyful moments when someone dances alone, badly, bravely, with no audience but the night. Eventually, you stop, breathless, hair askew, grinning like a fool. You collapse onto the sofa, limbs splayed like a silent film actor at the end of a grand finale. The flame dips low. Your breath begins to slow. Outside, the alley is quiet now. Inside, your heartbeat taps out one last rhythm, and then settles. Peacefully, dreamily. You lay back on the sofa for a moment, catching your breath from the private Lindy Hop that will go unrecorded in any formal history book. Your limbs are warm and loose, the kind of good tired that makes the world feels just a little softer. From the kitchen, a gentle crackle stirs your radio. You rise, slow and syrupy, and shuffle toward it. The knob is still turned, just enough to catch the signal, one faint, stubborn thread of sound among the static. A soft piano tune drifts out, slow, wistful, dreamy, the kind of melody that doesn't demand your attention, but kindly requests it. You comply. You lean against the counter, arms folded, eyes closed. The floor beneath you hums in sympathy with each note. It's as though the building itself is listening. The announcer breaks in, his voice low and smooth. And now, for those of you still awake, something to keep your dreams from drifting too far. The next song begins, strings this time, gliding slowly through the kitchen like silk curtains in a midnight breeze. You sway slightly. Not a dance, just a little motion, enough to stay in the music's current. Your reflection wobbles in the kettle on the stove, smiling back like it knows something. The clock ticks quietly above the sink. Even the refrigerator, despite being more of an icebox, hums along politely. Historians often mark the importance of radio in bringing people together, but they forget these in-between hours, when the voices fade and only music remains. When a room becomes a lullaby, you lower the volume a notch, just enough to keep the song from slipping away. You lean your elbows on the table, cheek resting against your arm, and the music plays on, like a gentle thought, too soft to say out loud. The music on the radio begins to fade, like a distant thought, politely excusing itself. You sit there a while longer, half draped across the kitchen table, eyes growing heavier with every tick of the wall clock. Then plink, a single piano note. You lift your head, slowly. The ceiling above you remains still. But then, plink plank, plink. A few more notes, uncertain and spaced far apart. Someone upstairs is playing, or maybe just testing. You smile. It's not a song yet. It's more like a question. The kind of musical meandering that happens when someone's trying to remember how their fingers used to move. You sit quietly, as if your stillness might encourage them to continue. A brief pause. Then, a short run of notes, soft, slightly off-key. Then silence. You hold your breath, waiting. Ding-ding-dong. 3 notes, almost forming a melody. It's not impressive. It's not polished. But it's perfect, in its hesitation, like someone trying to say, I'm still here, in a language they haven't spoken in years. A chair creaks above you. Then one last note. Low, slow, final. And then silence again. Historians will rarely capture moments like this. Too small, too quiet. But these are the lullabies of everyday life, musical dust motes, floating down from another floor, another world. At just the right moment, you exhale slowly, letting your forehead rest against the table. The building creaks. The music is gone. But something soft lingers, suspended in the silence. Your eyes close a little longer this time, and the night continues, one gentle note at a time. Later, with the radio silent and the upstairs piano stilled into memory, you find yourself drawn to the little box beneath your bed. It's not labeled. It doesn't need to be. You know what lives inside. You pull it out gently, dust blooming into the air like a sigh. Inside, photographs, sepia-toned, curled at the edges. That soft smell of paper, time, and maybe just a trace of lavender soap. You sit cross-legged on the floor and begin to flip through them, your grandmother in a high-necked dress, unsmiling in that serious way people posed back then, as if joy might crack the camera. Your father as a boy, holding a puppy and blinking mid-laugh. Your mother on her wedding day, eyes sparkling, veil askew. You find one of yourself as a baby, in someone else's arms, someone you can't quite remember. Their face is half in shadow. Their hand is steady, safe. You pause. Some photos have dates. Some don't. Some are labeled in fading pencil, Margie, 1918, or summer picnic, maybe. Some are a mystery. People staring back with eyes too familiar to forget and too distant to recall. One photo falls out, a candid one, a flapper in motion. skirt mid-whirl, laughter spilling from the edges. You don't know who she is, but you wish you did. Historians catalog revolutions, elections, economies. But here, in this box, history feels smaller, closer. It lives in crooked smiles, and accidental blinks, and the way a hand rests gently on a shoulder. You place each photo back carefully, like tucking in old friends for the night. The box slides under the bed again. The room feels just a little fuller. You stretch your arms, let your fingers rest on the floor beside you. The candle flickers once, then steadies, and the memories settle, soft as dust. The house is quiet now, so quiet in fact, that your thoughts start to gather at the edges of your mind, whispering to be let out. You sit at your little writing desk, the one with the uneven leg and the ink stain shaped like Nebraska. A scrap of paper stares back at you with the boldness only blank pages seem to have. You pick up a pencil. It's shorter than you remember, chewed at one end, eager at the other. You begin. The first line is passable. The second line is confusing, even to you. The third rhymes by accident, which is worse than not rhyming at all. You pause, reread. It's something, not quite poetry, not quite prose. It might be a grocery list disguised as emotional vulnerability. You sigh dramatically, as all proper poets do. Then you laugh. Because truly, it's terrible, but there's a charm to it. A rhythm, a sincerity that can't be faked. You cross out a few lines, add one back, then underline something that doesn't need underlining, but looks better that way. It's a poem. Now, whether it wants to be or not, you read it aloud, softly. The walls don't flinch. The room approves in silence. Historians may preserve the published works of poets and writers, but this is the kind of art that never leaves the room. Scribbled thoughts, late-night feelings, words dressed in pajamas. You fold the paper, gently, and tuck it into your notebook, just behind a pressed flower, and next to a half-finished list of things you meant to do in April. You blow gently on the candle. It sways golden and sleepy, and your words settle behind your smile. Quietly proud. You hear it before you see it. A soft thump on the fire escape, then the faintest scratch at the window. Not desperate, just ... expectant. You walk over and open it without hesitation. There she is, a slender calico with one torn ear and a face that radiates judgment and wisdom in equal measure. She steps inside like she owns the lease, tail swishing, eyes scanning the room like she's checking to see if you've made any improvements since last time. You say, hello, as if this isn't routine by now. She says nothing, of course. She's a cat. She leaps onto the windowsill, surveys the night, and then makes her way without invitation onto your favorite chair. She circles once, twice, then settles with a heavy sigh that suggests your chair was always hers. You sit nearby, on the floor, watching her eyes half close. Occasionally, she opens one to check that you're still here. You are docked. You offer her a saucer of water. She ignores it completely. A breeze rolls in through the open window, stirring the curtains and rustling your hair. The candle flickers. The room smells like fir and wood in the end of a long, lovely day. You reach out to pet her. She allows it. Briefly. Historians don't often mention cats in the grand sweep of the roaring 20s, but you suspect this one lived through it all. She's probably met flappers, napped in speakeasies, knocked over bootleg gin bottles just for sport. Tonight, she naps here, in your chair, in your home, but only for a while. She stretches once luxuriously, lazily, and hops down with a soft thud. A final look, a flick of her tail, then she's gone, out the window, back into the night, and you, left behind, feel oddly honored, and slightly warmer. The night deepens, wrapping the city in a soft velvet cloak. You tuck the cat's absence gently into the quiet corners, and climb into bed. Pulling the covers up to your chin like a shield, sleep teases you, but tonight, it plays coy. You close your eyes and try the oldest trick in the book, counting sheep, but sheep are elusive tonight. Instead, you decide to count cars passing the street below your window. One Model T rattles by, its engine sputtering like a grumpy old man. Two more follow wheels clattering against cobblestones like tiny drumbeat. 3, 4. Each car is a story, a spark of life slicing through the dark. You imagine their passengers late-night workers, secret lovers, bootleggers with hidden cargo. Your count climbs, slow and steady, then dash bang. A Model T backfires nearby. Your heart leaps, your breath catches. You laugh softly at yourself. No sheep, no cars. Just the city's own orchestra honking, sputtering, and bursting into unexpected noise. You breathe in slowly, the laughter fading like a gentle tide. The street below calms. The night hums a lullaby only the patient can hear. Your eyes flutter closed, and sleep, finally, finds you soft, sweet, and inevitable. The night stretches deep, wrapped around your dreams like an old quilt. Somewhere in the quiet, you find yourself, standing by your dresser. The soft glow of moonlight slipping through the curtains. Your hand reaches for the sock drawer, mundane, ordinary. Yet, when you pull it open, it feels like lifting a lid on a tiny treasure chest. Inside, a jumble of woolen socks, some mismatched, some holes carefully mended, all softly smelling of lavender and worn fabric. Beneath them, folded papers peek out. A train ticket stamped 1923, faded but still legible. A handwritten love note, edges curled and ink blurred. Words like whispers from another lifetime, and a shiny coin, small and curious, minted long before you were born. You lift each item gently, as if handling fragile memories. Historians often overlook drawers like this, but they're full of stories, the quiet, everyday relics that stitch a life together. You close the drawer softly, the weight of time settling comfortably around you. The moonlight fades behind clouds, and you feel wrapped not just in blankets, but in history itself. A soft sigh escapes you as you turn toward bed, and the night holds you close, cradled in a gentle, endless embrace. Your eyes flutter open briefly, catching the silver light filtering through the window. You lie still, wrapped in the soft warmth of your blankets, the day's moments gently folding into memory. You think back not to grand events or roaring crowds, but to the small, sweet sounds that stitched the hours together. That laugh in the park, the way it bubbled up like a hidden spring. The clink of soda glasses at the fountain, light and hopeful. The steady thump of your heart sinking with a jazz beat. The single piano note dropped upstairs, uncertain but brave. You let those sounds drift through you like a slow river, soothing and constant. They remind you that history isn't just made of dates and headlines. It's made of moments like these, soft, fleeting, and utterly human. You breathe deeper, letting the echoes lull you closer to sleep. The night hums softly outside your window, a quiet song just for you. And as your eyelids close again, the sweetest sounds of the day follow you gently into dreams. A gentle chill settles over the night, coaxing soft tendrils of fog to trace delicate patterns on your bedroom window. You press a finger against the cool glass, watching as the mist parts beneath your touch. Slowly, you begin to write letters, forming, blurred but visible, a heart, a smiley face, a mustache. You chuckle softly, the sound barely more than a whisper in the quiet room. Outside, the world seems to hold its breath, the fog shifting and swirling like a secret kept just for you. You trace one last shape before your finger retreats, the condensation slowly reclaiming its canvas. Historians rarely note these intimate moments, the small, playful interactions between a person and the night. Yet they carry a tenderness, a softness that lingers long after the fog has lifted. You lean your forehead against the glass, feeling the coolness seep through, grounding you in this peaceful moment. The candle flickers, the window fog gently fades, and you drift further into the embrace of sleep. You lie, nestled beneath your covers as a gentle sound begins to weave through the night, the soft patter of rain. At first, just a few tentative drops tapping against the roof, like fingers hesitating to tell a secret. Then more steady and soothing, a delicate rhythm on the shingles, the window, the leaves just beyond your window. The scent of rain, fresh and earthy, slips through the cracks and mingles with the warmth of your room. You close your eyes and let the sound wash over you. Each drop a tender note in nature's lullaby. Historians often remember grand storms, the fury of weather shaping cities and lives. But it's these quiet rains, the gentle taps on rooftops, that cradle us softly into rest. You breathe in deeply, feeling the coolness mingle with the comfort. Outside, the rain whispers secrets only the night can understand. Inside, your breath slows, your mind softens, and the rain hums you gently into dreams. Between the soft rhythms of the rain, your thoughts begin to drift not to places you've been, but to a memory you never lived. You imagine it's 1922. You're in Paris, the city of light and lovers, cafes humming with poetry, and streets echoing with the footsteps of artists chasing dreams. You see yourself wandering past the Eiffel Tower, its iron lattice glowing softly against a twilight sky. You hear the distant melody of an accordion, the clink of glasses, laughter spilling from open windows. You smell fresh baguettes and strong coffee in the morning air. You feel the breeze brush your cheek, carrying whispers of jazz and revolution. Though you've never been, the memory feels real, woven into your soul like an old song you half remember. Historians debate how many Americans traveled abroad during the 1920s. The truth is, for many, these imagined journeys were just as vital as real ones. You smile softly, letting the dream settle. The rain continues its gentle chorus outside your window, and you drift further into the night, carried by memories both lived and imagined. The room is quiet now, save for the steady patter of rain and your own slow, measured breath. You shift under the covers, finding your pillow just so. But sleep seems reluctant tonight, teasing you with its near presence, and then slipping away like a mischievous shadow. You gently argue with the pillow, turning it this way and that, fluffing it with care. As if persuasion could coax sleep from the air, your head rests, rises, and rests again. The fabric is cool against your cheek, soft and worn. You murmur softly to yourself, a private conversation without words. Historians rarely record such intimate struggles, the small battles waged nightly between wakefulness and dreams. But in this gentle tussle, you find a kind of peace. The rain taps steadily, a rhythmic companion. You breathe deeply, the pillow soft beneath you, and finally, surrender. The pillow welcomes you, cradling your head as the world fades softly to black. Your eyelids flutter closed, and your mind drifts gently into a dream. You find yourself once again at the automat, the magical place of nickels and tiny doors. But this time, it's endless. The walls stretch on and on, lined with glowing cubbies, filled with every kind of pie imaginable. Lemon meringue peaks swirl like clouds. Chocolate cream glistens like midnight. Apple slices shine with morning dew. You reach for a slice, but just as your fingers touch the plate, it vanishes and another appears, a new flavor, sweeter, richer. You taste each slice without ever finishing, savoring the impossible abundance around you. Soft jazz hums, mingling with the gentle clinks of glasses and murmurs of contentment. The world feels light, full of possibility and warmth. Historians speak of scarcity during the decade, but dreams know a different truth. Here, there is always pie, always a moment to savor. You float among the endless slices, feeling safe, full, and utterly at peace. The dream carries you deeper, soft as whipped cream, and you drift, endlessly content, into the night's embrace. The dream fades, replaced by a gentle hum, a blanket of static woven softly through the room. Your radio, still glowing faintly on the bedside table, whispers its final tune for the night. The crackling fades, the music slows, and then silence stretches out warm, comforting, and complete. You listen to the quiet as if it were a song, the kind that needs no words. Outside, the rain has stopped. The world is still and waiting. You breathe in slowly, feeling the calm settle deep within. Historians often overlook silence, but it holds its own history, the moments between the noise, the spaces where dreams begin. You sink deeper into your pillow, wrapped in the warmth of night. The candle flickers once, then bows out, and the silence carries you softly toward sleep. In the quiet room, the only sound is the steady tick-tock of the clock on your wall. Each tick is like a gentle drumbeat, marking time without hurry or demand. You find yourself syncing your breath to its rhythm. Inhale, tick. Exhale, talk. The world outside fades away, leaving just this small, steady heartbeat of passing moments. You feel grounded, safe, and softly cradled in the flow of time. Historians measure eras by dates and events, but here, in the hush of your room, you experience time as it truly is, a slow, steady pulse, guiding you closer to rest. Your eyes close a little more with each tick, and the soft drumbeat carries you gently into dreams. Through your window, the night stretches out, a velvet canvas dotted with distant lights. Outside, the fire escape glistens faintly under the moon's watchful eye, its metal rails catching whispers of silver. A soft flicker catches your attention, a tiny firefly, dancing in lazy circles. It hovers, glows, and dips, painting brief strokes of light against the dark dot. You watch, mesmerized by the fragile glow, a small rebellion against the vastness of night. Historians often overlook these quiet moments, but fireflies have been nature's storytellers for ages, reminding us that even the smallest light can pierce darkness. The insect lands briefly on the railing near you, its warmth surprising against the cool metal. You smile softly, feeling the night wrap around you like a familiar embrace. The firefly lifts, flickers once more, and disappears into the shadows, and you too drift slowly, light as a whisper, calm as the glowing night. As the firefly disappears, a soft melody lingers in the air, faint, familiar, yet unnamed. You hum it quietly to yourself, unsure where you heard it or who first sang it. The tune floats gently through the room, weaving between shadows and light. It feels like an old friend, a secret shared without words. Outside, the city sleeps, but the song continues, soft and persistent. You hum louder, allowing it to carry you away. Historians may never pin down such songs, for they live in memory, not manuscripts. But tonight, this song is yours alone, a lullaby without a title, perfect in its mystery. You close your eyes, letting the melody drift through your dreams, and the night sings softly on. From your window, the street below stretches out, empty now, wrapped in shadows and quiet. Streetlights cast pools of honeyed light, flickering softly as if trying to stay awake just a little longer. The sidewalks yawn in stillness, the usual bustle replaced by gentle silence. A lone cat pads past, paws silent on the cool pavement. Even the cobblestones seem to exhale, settling into the night's embrace. You watch as the city, like you, slows and softens, readying itself for rest. Historians speak of roaring crowds in busy cities, but here this city is gentle, peaceful, and waiting. You breathe slowly, matching the calm below, and together, you and the street drift into sleep's quiet fold. In the quiet dark, a sudden warmth washes over you, a memory unfolding softly like a treasured photograph. You hear your grandmother's laugh, not loud or boisterous, but gentle and full of life, like a soft breeze stirring autumn leaves. It echoes faintly in your mind, a tender sound that carries years of love, stories, an unspoken comfort. You smile, letting the memory wrap around you like a cozy shawl. Historians often forget laughter, the true music of families and homes, but here, it's the sweetest soundtrack. You breathe in deeply, as if drawing her presence into the room, and as your eyes close once more, her laughter becomes the lullaby guiding you gently into dreams. The night deepens, folding the city into a hushed embrace. Buildings settle, windows darken, and even the tallest towers seem to bow their heads in quiet rest. The bustle has faded into a soft hum, like a distant heartbeat slowed and steadied. Streetlights glow gently, casting long, peaceful shadows. You feel the city's breath sync with your own slow, calm, and steady. Historians mark moments by upheaval and change, but here, in this shared stillness, the city teaches a different lesson, the grace of slowing down. You sink deeper into your pillows, wrapped in the city's gentle exhale, and the world holds its breath with you, ready to dream. The night wraps around you like a soft melody, the city's jazz heartbeat fading into a tender whisper. You feel the warmth of the candle's last glow, the fading hum of distant music, the gentle rhythm of your own breath. Sleep approaches quietly, no fanfare, no rush, just a gentle invitation. You surrender to the darkness, your mind soft and open. Dreams begin to weave, threads of the day's moments, mingling with imagined melodies. The city hums beneath you, a lullaby of light and shadow. And as you drift fully into sleep, the jazz glow lingers, a warm, soothing promise of new days to come. You breathe slow and deep. The night holds you close, and you rest, finally and fully, cradled in quiet peace. Now, as your eyes grow heavier and your breath slows, imagine the soft glow of a city settling into night. The echoes of footsteps fade into whispers, and the gentle rhythm of distant jazz plays just for you. A lullaby woven from decades past. Feel the warmth of candlelight flickering softly, casting shadows that dance like memories across your room. Outside, a cool breeze stirs the curtains, carrying with it the scent of rain and distant laughter. The streets, once bustling with life and stories, now breathe quietly beneath the watchful stars. Let your thoughts drift to simple pleasures. Slice of pie melting on your tongue, the gentle clack of typewriter keys, a firefly's tender glow. These moments, small and tender, hold the true heart of the roaring 20s, a time of whispered dreams, secret joys, and the steady hum of hope as you sink deeper into sleep. Remember that history is not just grand events, but the soft stories, tucked into ordinary nights like this one. You are wrapped in those stories now, carried gently through time on a slow, comforting current. Rest easy. The world waits for you to wake, but for now, it's time to dream. The night is yours. Good night.